Welcome to the Igniting Impact podcast brought to you by Public Knowledge. I'm Stacey Moss, the host of the podcast and the president of our management consulting firm. Our firm's vision is to be a catalyst for change, leaving each person, project, client, colleague, and community better than when we started. The Igniting Impact podcast is an opportunity to share with you what is happening daily in this world to impact our world. We want to highlight this work and the work that is done for their clients and stakeholders that is changing lives despite the many daily challenges faced. On today's episode, we have two guests with us, Christina Simmons and Jennifer Morgan. They're here today to discuss lived expertise and the Parent Partner Program that is often in child welfare programs, although we're seeing it in some other human service programs as well. Let's get started by just getting to know you both a bit more. If you would tell us a bit about yourself, what you do for work right now, and how you got involved, or how you got to that position, that would be great. And Christina, if you want to start, we'll go ahead and get started with you.
Yes, ma'am. Hi, everybody. My name is Christina Simmons, and so I'm a parent partner here in the state of Mississippi, here in South Mississippi, and I work in two counties here in South Mississippi. And so what we do as far as parent partner work, we work in conjunction with a parent attorney that's in the youth court. And so what we do is we partner with that parent that is oftentimes scared and don't have the knowledge on how to navigate systems. And when I say systems, I'm mainly talking about CPS or indoor child welfare system. And so we help that parent navigate. We also help the parent with resources, as far as beds, clothing, whatever they would need as far as helping that family stay unified and stay together, or in some cases reunify if their children has been removed from their families.
And Christina, how did you get involved with the Parent Partner Program?
We had got involved back in 2017. I had my own experience with the child welfare system where my own children were removed. And so going through that experience, we were just looking back to see, what can we do as far as a parent helping another parent? I mean, oftentimes we don't see a lot of parents in leadership, and we see a lot of policy and practices that's done without parents' knowledge or without the community's knowledge and on how to make these policies a reality in the communities that we live in. But we were thinking, and we thought, how can we help after we were reunified after my children came home? How can I help another parent not go through the torture and/or the shame that's associated with having your children removed? And so, we actually got with another organization, Casey Family Programs, helped us into navigating this work and how to put together a parent partner program with the help of our public state defender's office and the attorneys there, such as Jennifer and Andre DeGray, help us to put this parent partner work together and actually start working here in South Mississippi with families that's going through the child welfare system.
That's great, Christina. Thanks so much. Jennifer, do you want to share a bit about yourself and what you do and how you got there?
Sure. My name is Jennifer Morgan. I'm the Parent Defense Program Manager at Office of the State Public Defender in Mississippi. I first came to this position in June of 2021. I had been a frontline parent defender in DeSoto County, that's right outside of Memphis, for about 5 years before that. We first came into contact with Christina. Casey had reached out to us. I had been doing this job for about 4 months, and they said, "Are we interested?" And I said, "Absolutely. One of our goals is to grow parent defense in the state of Mississippi, and we thought it'd be wonderful to add lived experience with us."
That's great. And Christina, I just want to make sure that our listeners know that, so when you went through the system yourself, there was not a parent partner program, correct?
There was not. There was a parent attorney, but there was not a parent partner program.
Well, let's get to know you both on just a more personal level. If you'll tell us kind of who you are outside of work and what values you live by. And Christina, if you want to start again, that'd be great.
Yes, ma'am. I sure do. I'm a parent of 6 beautiful children, and they're their ages is from 18 all the way to 1. And so, our house it's never a dull moment in there. And,
Busy and loud, I can imagine.
oh, yeah. We're, 5 girls and 1 boy, and he's the oldest, so he shies away from the girls all the time. And so, you don't want any part of those girls, and just being a mother and going through the day-to-day with children. And here in the South, I mean, you see a lot of poverty-related issues. You see a lot of parents that don't really have the means to fully support, especially a family of my size, a family like that. So, I mean, I believe God he chose me. We have the children. It's like, you got to be creative. You got to be strategic. I mean, you got to problem solve like on the dime, because you have to know, and, you have to be supportive to all these little faces that you see every day. And so that's my goal, is to raise them up and to let them know that, hey, you can conquer anything as long as you put your mind to it, you can do it. And mom is here to support you.
Jennifer, what about you?
Well, I've been a practicing attorney for about 18 years now. I am not married and don't have any kids. So obviously I went into child welfare law. I am a child welfare law specialist. I do have 2 very cute corgis at home. And they take up most of my time. They're super spoiled. They go to doggy daycare every day. But I've always enjoyed helping others through my law practice, and that's what I went to law school for. So when the opportunity came up to help kids by helping their parents, I jumped at it. So this is my passion. This is what I want to do. I want to make legislative changes so that every parent in Mississippi has the opportunity to have an attorney, whether or not they can afford one. I want them to have social workers and parent partners. And so that's my career path, is to try and make that difference.
Sounds like you guys are both in service, that you both kind of live your life by that value, whether it's with your family or others. It's great. Well, let's turn just a bit to what we're here to talk about today, the Parent Partner Program. And Christina, do you want to tell us a little bit about what it is and what it means?
Yes, the Parent Partner Program. So it means that a parent that will be in leadership, that has been through the system and navigated the system successfully and reunified with her family, are actually whatever her desired or their desired outcome was. And they've done that successfully within the system. And so a parent such as myself will partner with a parent that's currently going through or currently has an open CPS case or child welfare case. And, in child welfare, CPS will give that parent a service agreement and have tasks on there, such as parenting classes, need furniture, obtain gainful employment. And so what we'll do as a parent partner, we'll just help or mentor that parent one-on-one to help them achieve those goals or tasks before their court date or next hearing, so that way they can show themselves, okay, this is what I've done, and I want to get my children back, and I'm completing these tasks to show the court that, I'm deserving of my children, in a sense.
Okay, great. And Jennifer, what are some of the tasks that those parent partners are doing? Are they going to court? Are they working with them primarily outside of court? What does that relationship look like?
They actually do both. So it is a lot of, what we call hand-holding, taking them to make sure that they have the transportation, because that is a huge issue in Mississippi. Make sure that they are connected to the resources they need, and to make sure that they have a support for them in court, because court is very, very scary, especially when you're talking about someone's family. So having that partner who's been through it to sit next to them and hold their hand through it can make all the difference in a world.
Christina, what was the team that was involved in creating the program or setting it up back in, I think you said 2017?
Well, no, the team, that was Casey.
Okay.
That was Casey Family Program.
And so Casey family and you, was there anyone else kind of involved in getting it set up?
Jennifer with OSPD, Jennifer Morgan and OSPD were there. We had Well, most of the stakeholders were from Casey, and then we actually brought Jennifer in, and we actually Jennifer and Andre in another judge who kind of mentored us into okay what the courts are gonna like, what the courts don't like, and that sort of thing. So we had several key stakeholders that kind of came together and helped us type of build the infrastructures to the program.
And Jennifer, what was the interest? Why was the State Public Defender's Office interested in this program?
Well, as I said, we had just started the parent defense program. We do not have a statewide system. Right now, parents don't have the right to ask for a public defender in CPS cases. So we were looking to try and build an actual program around that, not just the legislative, but building attorneys, training them, having the opportunity for parents to have appeals. So when Casey approached us about adding this to our program, we jumped at it. I said, absolutely, whatever y'all need us to do. And so it just kind of started this beautiful friendship of what we can offer for parents in these locations. We do offer it. Christina is in Hancock and Harrison counties. Those are on the coast. And then we have another parent partner in Lee County, which is in Northeast Mississippi, also being a parent partner. So we're doing those two pilot programs. They've been going for little over a year, and so far going great. Hoping to add another one very soon, actually.
You know, I was going to say, what's the vision, Jennifer? Are you looking at this for every county eventually? And is there a time frame for that, or working on the legislature, is that next after these pilots?
The legislature is next. We feel like we have to have attorneys first, because if you don't have that in-court advocacy, you don't have anyone really driving the team in before the judge. So once we get that, we've already spoken to Casey and presented to the legislature that, hey, the gold standard is interdisciplinary teams. We want every parent who needs it to have an attorney, a social worker, and or a peer support partner. So we've already put those feelers out there, but funding is always going to be an issue. But we're hoping to get either a social worker or a lived experience person in Hinds County before the end of the year. Hinds County is Jackson, Mississippi. That's our state capital.
Yeah.
So we're seeing a huge need for that.
And so the parent partners, are they also working alongside attorneys right now in those pilot counties?
Yes, the way we structured the program was to have them part of the parent defense team, because we wanted to make sure that they were covered by the attorney-client privilege. So we wanted to make sure that if a parent needs to confide in Christina, that they have that confidence that they don't have to tell the court, other than mandated report or really safety issues, that they can go to that parent partner and say, gosh, that CPS worker is being terrible, and they don't have to worry about Christina testifying about it. So we wanted to make sure that they are protected and had that confidentiality.
That's great. So why don't you both tell me a bit about kind of your role in realizing this vision statewide? How are the two of you involved in kind of moving that forward, and what does that look like on a day-to-day basis? And either one of you, whoever wants to go first.
Well, for me, what it looks like is we have contracts with Christina and Kristen, our other parent partner. OSPD was actually able to hire an interdisciplinary teams coordinator. We hired her to be an actual employee this year, not just contract. They have weekly lunch and learns and case prep, case discussion. We try to have at least monthly the whole IDT teams for that county to meet. Just trying to think what else, Christina?
Yeah, and then also I was going to say, so we just, me and Kristen, the other parent partner, so, we're just like the guinea pigs of everything. And so we just kind of it's like trial and error, okay, and also on our weekly calls, we're like, okay, this didn't work, okay, that, we need to get more of this. And we're just trying to iron out all of the cracks and crevices that we need to, so that way we're able to go forward and expand smoothly. And so that has really been a challenge at times here in the first year of the pilot programs, because it's so new.
Yeah.
And it wasn't here in the state of Mississippi. We've never seen this type of interaction also in the youth court. So it's a lot of trial and error for sure.
Yeah, I bet. I'm laughing over here because I can imagine the type of the type of barriers that I'm sure are there. So, okay, well, one of our core values at PK is impact, and we've really created this podcast around it because it's so essential to our work, right? In anywhere that we work, but especially in child welfare. And so impact to us means that we approach every engagement or every project with our energy focused on identifying what the right goals, outcomes, and strategies are, and that we each have a personal responsibility to make a positive impact on our work and our world. I'm wondering what impact means to each of you and what kind of impact you hope to have on this world.
What I want to do is make sure that children who don't need to be removed from their families aren't, and if they do have to be, that they are returned home as soon as they safely can. Because if each month that that child is in CPS custody and out of home is traumatizing to them. So making sure that those parents have hope, that they see that someone is helping them, and that these are the positive things that you can change for your child and your family. It's huge impact on the children and families of our state, and that's really where I wanted to focus my practice. And having parent partners like Christina, I mean, I've visited court and met some of Christina's clients, and they just glow about her because of the hope it gives them. And to me, that's all the impact that you could ask for.
Christina, what about you? What kind of impact do you hope to have on this world?
And I would say, to God be all the glory. And, just looking back, those years ago and seeing the place that we're in, when your children are removed, that's a pain and that's a loss that you can't describe.
Yeah.
And being able to see and help and being in the courtroom, I mean, a parent head, I mean, the whole time my head was down. I mean, I didn't have any hope. I didn't know what to think. I didn't know how to feel. I didn't know. I mean, I couldn't get angry. I mean, because that would have been something. She's an angry mom, and so I want to encourage parents that find themselves in that situation. It's a hard place, but there is, you're able to, for me, I was able to look back within myself and say, okay, Christina, what can we do to make me better? I was able to look at myself. Even though what was going on around me and what's happening was very chaotic, I was able to look at myself and say, okay, I'm going to fight and I'm going to do what I need to do. Even though this is injustice, I'm going to still fight to complete those, to check those boxes and get my children, because I know I can get my children back. I know I deserve my children. And to talk with each parent or to talk with those parents every day and to give them that, look, you can do this. Wait a minute. Let's not ball over it. Let's think about and give, we come up with strategies together. What can I help you with? What can I do for you? Because they know, it's just that their voice is gone, but you give them their voice back with that attorney. That attorney gives them that voice back. The social worker and/or parent partner gives that parent a voice, and that parent get confidence and say, wait a minute, I'm going to go and get I'm going to do what I have to do. I'm getting my children, and they fight tooth and nail. And to see those children come home is all the impact, that we need.
Yeah. So I heard voice, confidence, hope, like just so much that's changing based on the work. Is there anything else that either of you hope will change because of your work with this parent partner program, either in the counties or in the state or in families?
Well, I want to change the system. And that's, that's huge, but I feel like I'm in a place where I can start to make those systems improvements. And, we've gotten actually a lot of great partnerships with Child Protective Services now. Leadership is on board and thinks that every parent should have an attorney. And just that shift in thinking has been huge. So we're really looking to build on that, and that these parents need more people to support them, not less. So let's build them up. I think just making that shift in the state is going to help so many people.
No small feat either. But
Absolutely.
great. That's where the impact is, right? There's always impact at that individual family level, but impact at the systems level is just helping so many more of those families. So for our listeners that are not in child welfare and do not know what parent partner programs are, can either of you describe what success looks like for a parent partner program working or parent partner working with a family directly? What does success look like?
Well, for me, success would look like that parent that's involved with the child welfare, or that parent that has an open case with CPS, case closed, and, successful reunification. If that's the desire of the parent. We've had some parents that desire to, I want my family member to take control, or another member of the family, and they just come, and parents need that help and they need that support in those cases. And so I think for me, a parent walking out of that youth court successful, they're not defeated, with the system working with the family, not against the family.
That's great. And I think that success is impacting, right, that those parents and that child and the family, probably the extended family too. Is there anyone else that you feel like that work is impacting within the system or outside of the system?
I can tell you that I've had a lot of people reach out, and our IDT coordinator is actually wonderful about this, that, hey, we've got like these foster care scholarships for housing, where they're involved in the system, but we don't know who to reach out to. And I'm like, oh, you can talk to our parent partners and our IDT coordinator, because that's who needs to get that information. And just seeing that we're getting those more and more, like there are resources now that Kristen and Christina have that they can help their parents get that I never heard of when I was a frontline parent defender. And being able to offer those services to a parent can make all the difference in the world. And so really seeing that and loving it. I know Kristen has transported parent to drug and alcohol treatment, helped with housing vouchers. Christina has gotten beds for people. It's just been amazing to watch.
So a very large and far impact, sounds like.
Absolutely.
Christina, anything else that you would want to add there?
And I think as well, I've seen a change in our judges. I've seen a change in our garden ad litem.
Great.
I've seen a change in them, and they're like, when a judge recommends a parent partner, I'm like, hey, we're doing it.
I've actually got judges who they're kind of skeptical about who is this person, why do they need to go in, and now those are the same judges that go, no, you can't take her away.
That's great.
You can't have her.
That's great. So are the parent partners in the counties that you're in right now, are you serving all the parents or a percentage of them? What does that look like?
Right now, it's a percentage or a portion of it.
Yeah.
Because the counties where Christina is at, they have huge amounts of caseload. It is actually much, much better than it was, but it is still extreme. So we had to put case limits, and what we've asked our attorneys, because they're usually the ones who ask for parent attorney to be appointed, is when you get a client and you meet with them that first time and you can just see the hopelessness in them. You're like, they have the ability to change. They just need that voice to encourage them. Those are the people we really want to refer, because I think giving and instilling that hope is the most important thing Christina and Kristen can do. And so we're still working with caseload limits, that as we grow, we're hoping that every parent can have one.
Yeah, that's great. And there's so many definitions for that lived expertise and lived experience, but I'm kind of clinging on to both of yours, which is all around hope. I just love how you both describe that. So it's a really great way of putting it. So each quarter, our podcast has a different theme. And as you probably know by now, lived expertise is our theme this quarter. So for the listeners who need a little bit more information on it, I was going to define it. And it's really people that have lived expertise or experience are those that are directly affected by any social health, public health, or other program or issue, and by the strategies and systems that actually are trying to address those issues, which gives them, right, a unique and expert level insight that can inform and improve systems, research, policies, practices, and programs. And we're starting to see this in lots of different health and human service programs. But really, we all have our own level, right, of lived expertise or lived experience in lots of different ways. But I think a lot of this began in the child welfare system as we tried to look at how do we improve those systems, right? And how do we start to address the barriers and the inequities that are present in it. So when you think of the Parent Partner Program pilot that you have in Mississippi, how do you believe that program is prioritizing and elevating those voices or that lived expertise? How is it meeting that need of that information and improvement?
I look at myself and our other parent partner, Kristen, and our IDT team coordinator about being boots on the ground. I'll say that, we're boots on the ground, like CPS has their frontline workers. We're boots on the ground. And we've lived through, Kristen and myself has lived through and successfully navigated the CPS or child welfare system successfully. Mm-hmm. And so when you meet another parent that's in that situation who's talking to a lawyer or she's talking to the judge or maybe a guardian ad litem, all three of those, they don't have that experience. But when I first meet with somebody and I'm able to share my story to where it will benefit that parent, and then you can see their head coming up and saying, what, you've been through? I'm like, yeah, okay. And they're listening. Now they're all ears because I'm like, okay, this is what we need to do. And they're all ears because you've been through this. You've telling me how you've navigated, how you've completed, how you're successful. I want to get there. And I think that's how we're meeting that lived expertise, by being in the youth court systems, a place where peer support has not been. This is new.
What do you think that value of that lived expertise is bringing to the whole system or to other organizations outside of kind of the families and the public defender's office? What do you think the value is, or what would you tell someone is the value of that type of a program to bigger systems or other organizations within that system?
The Department of Mental Health has really embraced peer support. That's actually who helped us with training for Kristen and Christina. And as that grows, I think more and more courts, not just youth court, but the legal community, judges, and anybody who has that interaction with, public health type things, that they are really starting to value that lived experience. And when I was a frontline parent defender, I always tell them I was a terrible social worker because that's not my training.
Yeah.
And I had more than one parent to look at me and go, what does a middle-aged white woman know about with no kids, know what I'm going through? And I'm like, I don't. And so being able to say, I don't know, but I know someone who does, and being able to connect them, it can make all the difference.
That's great. Christina, what do you think it's brought to the other organizations like the Child Welfare Agency or the judges, or I know you mentioned guardians ad litem too. What value do you think they're getting from your work and Kristen's work?
I think the parents, I think when parents are inside, going through their hearing, or they're at a certain disposition hearing or a hearing for the children, the parents will say, well, my parent partner, Kristen, did this, or Christina came and the parent partner came to my house and she did this. And you'll see everybody's eyes just go up like, wow, that's the impact.
Okay. For anyone who's looking to add maybe a parent partner program or another lived expertise piece to what work they're doing, do you guys have any tips or tricks or important advice that you would have for anyone that's looking to add that to their program or their project?
First, I would, especially if you're doing child welfare, reach out to Casey or your contact person. Casey Family Programs has always told us that they really value lived experience. Honestly, we couldn't do this pilot without them. The other element is reach out to your Department of Mental Health. Like I said, they are adding them as fast as they can certify them to not only their treatment programs, but drug courts, social, there used to be like a social worker and an intervention court. And now just about every youth court, intervention court I can think of has some form of peer support for the families. And so I think the more we talk about it, the more we get it out there, the better it'll be. But that's where I would start when you're really starting to look at these programs.
Right. Christina, anything to add on tips and tricks?
Yeah, it came to me as Jennifer was talking. I think what's so special about the parent partner program here in the state of Mississippi, we had so many. It wasn't too much to where it was just too much information. We had a retired a justice in residence youth court judge that sat on the bench, 30-something odd years and still doing stuff here in the state. We had so many different components that came together with this one subject. And I believe that's the specialness about what we have here in the state of Mississippi, and others. I mean, other people around the state are trying to, are looking and seeing, okay, how did this happen? And also we had lived experience. It wasn't just the professionals. I would say, we did also, we had lived experience in on every call, lived experience in at every meeting. Okay, what works, what don't work, and we got together and actually made it work as it is now.
That's great. So one of our aspirational values is progress, which is all about kind of the collective power of impact, right? We want each of our actions to build upon the last, kind of moving towards the goal of leaving the world better than when we started. So I'm curious, is the Parent Partner Program a continuation of any other work in Mississippi that came before it, or is it the beginning of the line?
I would say it's the beginning of the line. We did a presentation. Christina couldn't join us on this last one, but we did a presentation at our last Parent Defender conference on the value of an interdisciplinary team, and particularly a parent partner, and what a difference that can make. And Kristen was able to share her story to the professionals, the attorneys in the room, and the room was just like tearing up. It's so easy as an attorney to kind of get in that groove of just doing the law and forgetting that your clients are real people and that they are really going through this trauma. So it was very nice to circle it back to remind them that you are dealing with real people. These are the values that they have, and these are their goals and their dreams. Just hearing that lived experience person speak was so impactful on them. There are a couple of Senate committees and the Children's Commission on Justice, which I think Christina is a member of, that they made sure to have lived experience people, not just with parents, but previous foster kids, previous addicts or substance use disorder. Depends on the person on how they identify on that one. Yeah. But you're starting to see it more and more added to get those voices heard.
Yeah, Christina, I think, that's why the two of you are on this podcast, was me hearing your story and just being very impacted by your family story, you and your husband, and just loving to hear kind of the success, right, that you had, and even despite the odds, it was pretty impactful. So how do you think, if you're at the beginning of the line, how do you see the Parent Partner Program kind of contributing to progress moving forward, or contributing to progress over time? I know you said you want to see it in other counties and you want to see that interdisciplinary model, but what do you think that will do for Mississippi and the system and the families?
I think we'll see a lot less kids in CPS custody. I think we'll see them being returned home much more quickly.
Yeah. Christina, anything else that you think will kind of progress or change?
I do. I think we'll see, I'll allude to what Jennifer said earlier, not only seeing or not only going by law or CPS going by policy, per policy, we have to remove the children. Per policy, if mom doesn't have adequate child care and she leaves the children in the care of another child to take care of the younger children, wait a minute, as CPS, let's get her some child care instead of removal. I think we'll see an impact in systems helping the family and actually doing what the policies, say that they do here in child welfare. We're actually going to see the support instead of reporting on families.
Yeah, I would say when I see parent-partner programs across the country, we are hitting on something that I see a lot, which is just a lot more compliance and focus, right, on getting it right from the beginning. There's just a lot more accountability, right, to everyone in the room, not just the parents, but the professionals as well. It's a great impact and great progress. So for me, part of progress is really about lessons learned. And I know you talked earlier, Christina, about some trial and error. And I think that is so true, right? We take so much of what we learn from either failures or wins, and then figure out how to do it better the next time around. And so I'm wondering if there are any lessons learned that you guys have so far that you can share with our listeners that would actually help us kind of move the needle in other places and make even more progress, or maybe help someone from a little less trial and error in the future. Is there anything that either of you would like to share?
I have one, and it goes back to my previous statement of I'm a terrible social worker. Probably the best thing I ever did was finding a social worker with supervising experience to help Kristen and Christina, because I was terrible at it. And so that was like, as soon as I could back out, I was like, I'm messing this up. Let me not do that. And bring in someone who might have a clue.
Jennifer, I am an attorney too, and I always said, not only am I not trained in it, but there's probably not enough money in the world that you could pay me to do that. It's a very hard job. So very, very hard job. Christina, any lessons learned that you have?
At the beginning of this thing, it was just like, let's do it this way. I wanted to do it this certain way, but then I had a mentor from Washington State and was like, Christina, stop. You need, it was the collaboration piece for me with Jennifer, even though Jennifer's an attorney, I'm not. Jennifer is I'm a mom, Jennifer's not, and so we had to learn how to learn from one another.
Absolutely.
Instead of always, okay, I don't like what she said. She don't like and we had to learn that, and we grew and build rapport with one another. And so we were able to collaborate, because I think today, we as humans, we don't like to embrace the change. We don't like change. But once we did that and we embraced one another, I mean, this beautiful partnership and this beautiful program came from that. And it's just wonderful.
So how did you guys improve or increase the collaboration? I'm curious what changed. Was it just a mindset, or were there other things that you did?
It was meeting more often, especially on Zoom or where we could see each other, because I am terrible about emails, because I'm usually very direct and to the point. But it's not me being rude or short. It's just, that's just how I type. So having that personal interaction where we live about 3 hours apart. But Zoom allowed us to see each other. And the more often we did it, we realized, oh, that's not really how I should have taken that. Well, let's work on this more. What's working? And I had to adjust a good bit of what was working, what's not, and listen when they say, hey, this isn't really working. Okay, well, what can we do to make it better? That was a good lesson to be reminded of.
That's exactly what happened, and I had to adjust, and I had to change, and I had to embrace change and say, wait a minute, be quiet, Christina. We're coming up on something that's going to be monumental here in the state of Mississippi. You don't see everyday people working in the youth courts. You don't see peer support. You don't see this, and collaborating with Jennifer and listening to the lingo. I had to learn the court talk. that it's just been great, and I'm so excited about what the future holds as far as adding other counties and adding more peer support here in the state of Mississippi.
Okay, well, anything else that you guys want to share on lessons learned before I close us out today or about the program?
Engage judges and court personnel early and often. Check in with them. Attend court. I've made site visits to both locations because it's one thing for Christina to tell me something isn't working. It's another thing to sit in court and to go, oh, now I know why that's not working. And so we be able to shift and learn because ours are closed courts, and I've been in I don't know how many youth courts, and just about every one of them does it different. So learning that what works in Lee County may not work on the coast, and vice versa. So doing those site visits and observing and talking have really helped.
That's great. Christina, anything else that you'd like to add?
I would add the power of collaboration, the power of having a lived expert in the room, and that lived expert, a lot of times I just listened. A lot of times I just listened, and and anyone who's listening, as far as being a peer support or want to become a peer support, you can build a lot of anger in going through the child welfare system. You can build a lot of resentment, but I think in order to collaborate, I had to put that under subjection. I had to put myself under control. I couldn't be angry because my children were removed. I had to learn how to say, that's done, that's that. And even to be able to walk in the youth court was just like an experience, because I'm like, oh, wow, I'm back. Even though I was coming to work, it's a blessing to be able to sit and hear and talk with Jennifer as her being a practicing attorney for it's so wonderful to work in conjunction with attorneys, hear judges. You're just part of the staff, and it's just wonderful because it just helps you as a peer support, as a parent, to grow into parent your children in a way that gives them a better life. And so we're definitely grateful for all of the interactions, and that's what we had to have, more interaction to learn each other. And we, it's just been great.
Christina, what helped you to kind of put that anger and resentment behind you? Because I think that's a common challenge in this world, is how do you separate that from this kind of professional world moving forward?
I was talking to Russ, and he asked Russell at KCFN, he asked the same thing. And I told him, I said, Russell, it's just been nobody but God. I said, Russell, it's just been nobody but God's grace and his mercy. I said, probably about 10 years ago, you wouldn't want to be friends with me because I was an angry person. I was mad, and and especially with having this experience, I just saw myself going over the top, but I didn't. I was able to sit down and talk with the commissioner, and she just looked at me and she said, I can't believe you're just sitting here. You should be mad at me. And I said, no, because with God, all things are possible. You learn how to grow, because he's not using it to destroy you. He's not using this experience to take you out. He's using it for you to grow and actually learn, and be a better person. And that's what it's made me.
I'm also wondering, is it helping to kind of take that very difficult, dark, hard, challenging situation that your family went through, but be able to use that to give back and help other families? Like, over time, does that help as well?
Oh, when we see a reunification, or when we see a mother getting off drugs, I'm like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get my it just brings you to a place of you belong. You feel like, I'm doing my part here in the world. I'm not just here taking up space. I'm doing something that matters in the lives of families and children, and that's the best part.
You're doing so much, and I've seen it across the country, but I'm positive that you're doing a lot as well from what I've heard. So that's wonderful. Okay, well, we built this podcast around one of our 3 core values, impact. But to close out every podcast, what we've been doing is asking our guests to share their wisdom on our other 2 core values. So I just have 2 more questions for you. There's no wrong answers. But what we're trying to get is just some advice for our listeners on how to achieve inclusion and teamwork at work. And so I'm going to ask you just 2 more questions. And the first one, and either of you can start, is what is your best advice for achieving high levels of inclusion at work, or in the workplace, or in a professional setting?
I would have to say to just stop and listen. It's something that I would realize in my own practice that I was getting in that groove of going to court and doing the legal thing, and I wasn't always listening to what my clients were telling me they wanted versus I know what you need, and just listen. That's the best you can do.
Christina, what about you?
Yes, and I would say embrace change.
That's great. All right. What about what's your best advice for achieving high levels of teamwork at work? And I know you guys talked about collaborating, so I know you guys have experience with this one. What do you think helps make it where you're having like a very healthy and lots of teamwork?
I would go back off what Jennifer said earlier. It really started once we got more interaction with one another. We were on more Zoom calls together. Jennifer came down, and was at the site with us. We had lunch, and we would go up and if we had to Jackson, and learning one another and growing together. Even though you're two totally different people, in collaboration on a topic such as children and families. I mean, you have to just, we both have the same goals. We want to see children and family reunified.
Jennifer, what about you?
One thing that I had to adjust to with both of our parent partners was understand their trauma and that certain things could be very triggering for them. We had some things happening in Lee County and on the coast that if I hadn't been talking to Kristen and Christina, I may not have known that that was a stress point. I couldn't do what I needed to do to protect them. Because if I can head off problems with the judge, go, hey, judge, maybe, understand that this isn't the best thing. Or when you move them to a place that they associate with that terrible point in their life when they didn't have their kids, that these are problems. You're putting them back in that mindset, listening and learning with them. If I hadn't taken that time to listen to their stories and to understand that certain things could be very triggering, it'd be a much different program. So it's something to be aware of. And it goes back to listening.
Yeah, and taking the time to get to know people on a more personal level, right? To build that trust. That's what I'm hearing from both of you, which I think is such a huge piece of teamwork.
And being trauma informed and understanding, trauma responses.
I can definitely think of a time that Jennifer, we had did a little traveling to Denver, and I had to step out. I mean, it just had got so overwhelming. We had quite a few people telling their stories, and this would happen to them. Their children were removed, and they went through this, that, and it was very traumatizing. I had to step out, and the thing that blessed me when Jennifer came out, she said, "Well, look, you take as much time as you need." That moment, I knew that I was like, okay, we definitely are understanding each other more, a lot better.
That's wonderful, and I think only something that someone that knows you would be able to do. So that's great. Okay, well, I cannot thank you both enough for your time today. It's been just really wonderful to talk to you, and it's been a privilege to be here with you today to connect, to learn, to grow, to breathe, and to share. Until next time, this is Stacey signing off.